I'm a security guard at Disneyland. Today I found out why children go missing. I was excited to get a job at the happiest place on earth. I grew up in Orlando, so my mom took me rather frequently as a young lad, and I was excited that I could take my kids for free from now on. I got a job as a nighttime security guard. I just had to sit and watch cameras. The parks aren't always empty at night, and I had to just make sure nothing suspicious was going on. I was so thrilled. I didn't have to put up with what day shift guards did. They had to deal with people drunk in Epcot, those feeling entitled because they spent thousands, etc. I remember, in training, asking a guard if he seen anything weird. He told me on the Haunted Mansion ride, they saw a woman throw her daughter's ashes out. When they confronted her, she truly believed her daughter would be a happy haunt she would see every time she rode the ride. Let me stop now and tell you, you will get caught dumping ashes, and won't be happy with what they do to your loved one's remains. The strangest thing I was taught was Code 999, another Haunted Mansion reference. I was taught to use it if you see something odd, something unexplainable. We usually rotated what parks we would watch, sometimes certain hotels, or even Disney Springs. I got Hollywood Studios. Tonight I loved being able to patrol the grounds and see how Galaxy's Edge looks. I love how they added Star Wars to the parks, and I could see it away from the horde of tourists. I was sitting in my office watching cameras, with my big mug of coffee they keep for us, when unexplainable things started happening. Little did I know, this was only the beginning of my worst nightmare. I checked my watch, and it was 3 a.m. I watched Mickey casually waltz down the street, going towards Rock N' Roller Coaster. We were never characters at this time, and plus most people traveling were going to use the underground tunnels. I stared in disbelief, as a Donald Duck, then Goofy, then Pluto, all followed shortly behind him. My walkie was pure static, and I mumbled code 999. I repeat, code 999. This is Bill and AK. What's going on? Why are there characters in the park? All I heard was pure static. My gut told me to wait and just see what happens. Maybe more security comes, maybe law enforcement, but I figured I could go solo. My walkie wouldn't get a hold of any other guards, so it was only me. I snuck to a dressing room and found an old Olaf costume. I put it on and clumsily walked towards Rock N' Roller Coaster. All the noise wasn't there, but where Phantasmic was, when I slowly approached the group of characters, it suddenly started raining. I glanced and saw characters fill the benches and seats around the area. On top of a large rock, there stood someone. I sat next to a Minnie. She turned to me and just stared, didn't say any words, but just stared at me. She turned and glanced back at the stage. The intercom cut on. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, here he is, Mickey Mouse. I watched. His characters began to bow and cheer. I tried to do the same, so I wasn't noticed. I looked to my right side, and a little girl stood next to me, cheering. I think it was the girl whose ashes were dumped. Hey, everybody. Gee, thanks for coming. I'm sure glad to see you all. Now to business. What's your name, pal? A man tied to a table was carried in from behind the curtains. That was Jerry. He was in training with me. He looked beaten up, bloodied. It doesn't matter your name, actually, chuckled Mickey. All right, gone. It's time. We offer a new vessel for Walt to dwell in, and this is the perfect sacrifice. He screamed. While he was gagged, Mickey lifted a knife to the sky and stopped. He stared at everyone for what felt like an hour. He sniffed. One of you is an imposter. Who is it? Listen, pal, we need Walt more than ever, and can't do this with you here. Characters shuffled around in confusion, trying to find me. Then the ghost girl whispered to me, get out, paralyzed in fear. I slowly started to move, but I was interrupted by my walkie, going off. 10-4, code 999. On my way, I turned around, expecting to be mauled by characters, but everyone's gone. I'm alone in the stands, except the Mickey that was on the stage. Slowly started to approach me. He looked different. I hadn't noticed it until now. His eyes were missing, and a strong, red glow beamed from the gaps. He let out a loud scream, nearly piercing my ears. I was done. I needed to get out of there. I sprinted as fast as I could to my office. The shaking was surreal. As I sat down and grabbed my coffee mug, the lukewarm liquid covered my lap. I truly wanted to quit, but I needed to find Jerry. As I reached for the door to exit my office, the light suddenly dimmed. I turned back to my monitors. They're once quiet, feeds now buzzing with a flurry of activity. Mickey and the rest of the characters were back, their eyes fixated on the screens, as if they were watching me. Their eyes, once so full of warmth and joviality, were now hollow, empty voids. I could see Jerry, still tied on the table, writhing with terror. He was looking straight at my security camera, pleading for help. I tried to call out on the walkie again, desperate for a response, but static was all that filled my ears. My heart pounded in my chest, like a sledgehammer, as I tried to think of what to do. As I stared at the monitors, the characters began moving again, this time in my direction. The little girl, the ghost, was leading them. In my panic, I grabbed the only weapon in my office, my coffee mug. I backed into a corner of the room, watching the monitors, as the characters drew closer to my location. Then the monitors went black, complete silence. The only light in the room was the faint glow from the standby button on the console. Suddenly, a chilling, high-pitched giggle echoed through the room, making the hair on the back of my neck stand on end. The door creaked open slowly, a familiar white glove appearing around the edge, and my heart almost stopped. The last thing I remember, before blacking out, was the sight of Mickey, empty eye sockets, inches from my face, and the cold grip of his gloves around my throat. I woke up hours later, alone in my office. All was calm, and sunlight was creeping through the blinds. There was no sign of the characters, no sign of Jerry. The monitors were back to their normal, peaceful state. I looked down at the mug, still clutched in my trembling hands. Only it wasn't my coffee mug. It was a mug with a picture of Walt Disney. His eyes replaced with dark, hollow sockets. and a single word, etched into the bottom. Welcome.